People always ask me about enemies who work together. It's kind of tense at first. A homie will come in and say, I'm ready. And I'll say, okay, I have an opening in the bakery, but you have to work with X, Y, and Z. And I rattle off the names of rivals. And they always say the same thing. They always say, I'll work with them, but I'm not going to talk to them. But, that used to bother me in the early days. But, the truth is, human beings can't demonize people they know. It's hard to sustain that, really. So I had a homie named Youngster, a little tiny guy. Everybody called him Youngster. And I thought he was ready, so I bring him into the Homeboy silkscreen factory, and I introduce him to all his 30 coworkers. That's our biggest business, huge factory. And I watch him as he shakes hands with everybody, looking him in the eyes, even enemies, until he gets to the last guy, a guy everybody called Puppet, and Puppet seems to be avoiding this encounter altogether. And when Puppet and Youngster are in each other's vicinity, they kind of mumble something. They stare at their shoes. They don't shake hands. Well, I know they're enemies, but he just finished shaking hands with other enemies. I discover later that this is a hatred that's quite personal and deep, beyond which neither of them think they can get past. So I sense that at the moment, and I say, hey, if you guys can't hang working together, let me know. I got a bunch of people who want this job. And they say nothing. 6 months later, Puppet is walking to a corner store not far from his home and buys something. But on the way home, he kind of takes a detour, a shortcut, cuts into an alley. Suddenly, he's surrounded by 10 members of a rival gang, 10 against 1. They beat him badly. He falls to the ground. While he's lying on the ground, they will not stop kicking his head until he's lying there lifeless. Somebody finds his body, takes him to White Memorial Hospital, where he's declared effectively brain dead, though it's the policy there to keep you connected to machines for 48 hours, so the doctors can get 2 days of a flat read, then they sign the death certificate. This allowed family and friends to gather. I was in St. Louis University giving a talk. I flew home. I've seen a lot of horrible things in my life, but nothing to compare to the sight of this young man with his head swollen many, many times its size. It was horrifying. You could barely train your eyes on him. So at the end of the 48-hour period, I gave him a blessing. I anointed his forehead with oil. We disconnected. And a week later, I buried him. But in the first 24 hours, I'm alone in my office. It's 8:30 at night. And the phone rings, and it's Youngster from the silkscreen factory, Puppet's coworker. Hey, he says, that's messed up about what happened to Puppet. I said, yeah, it is. And then with a certain kind of eagerness even, he says, is there anything I can do? Can I give him my blood? And we both fall silent under the weight of it, until finally he breaks the silence, choking back his tears, and he says with great deliberation, he was not my enemy. He was my friend. We worked together. Now, can I say that always happens at Homeboy Industries? Yeah. Any exceptions? No. And it shouldn't surprise us that God's own dream come true for us, that we be one, just happens to be our own deepest longing for ourselves.